I think that Elon understands what's happening. He says his grandparents were from Britain. He has looked and read and researched what's happened to British children. And he probably, like the rest of America and the rest of the world, cannot believe it's been allowed to happen. And I guess if they look at who was raising the concern about it, then it's me. So, or me and groups and people like me, and we were defamed, we were attacked, we were silenced, we were imprisoned. So I don't know if whether Elon personally likes me. I think that he's personally outraged and cannot believe what's been allowed to happen in such a wonderful country as Britain. And we were known around the world as Great Britain. But what's great about a country that does not protect its own children? What's great about a country that actually willingly sacrifices its children at the hand of the multiculturalist order? What's great about that? There's nothing great about it.
And we're too scared to sing a national anthem because it might offend, or it might, I feel like we've hit a point now where people are like, we're sick of this shit. We don't want to do this anymore. We don't stand for this anymore. Our leaders are weak as piss. Your Starmers, your Macrons, your Carneys in Canada, your Albaneses in Australia. People are sick of it. They're good, decent, kind people who are willing to share their country with others, but not others who want to kill them or ruin things or rape their daughters.
What is the solution to this? It's for people to speak up, stand up and speak out. And if everyone done that from the start and wasn't scared, I understand why they're scared. Remember, I used the name Tommy Robinson. Originally, I wore a mask and used a fake name, because I had 7 houses and 2 successful companies, and I didn't want to lose them, and I lost it all. So I fully get why the average person who's financed up to here, struggling with their bills, trying to live a life, trying to have a job, worried about losing it all, I get why they were silenced. I get it.
My major guest for today is a man called Tommy Robinson. They've called him racist. They've called him a bigot. They've called him Islamophobic. They've called him working class like that's an insult. But listen to him yourself. Listen to this conversation and then tell me what you think. Tell me if you think those words are accurate. I'd love to know. Tommy Robinson, thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it.
It's my pleasure.
I'll start by asking you a very blunt, straight up, kind of simple question. Who are you as a person? There are so many different versions of you that come from other people. Who are you, according to you?
Don't believe what the media say. Yeah, don't believe what the media. Believe what I say. I am your average British, fed up, neglected, and forgotten person. I'm from a town 30 miles north of London. When I was born in 1982, we had 1 mosque. We now have over 45. White English are a minority in that town. Now, I spoke about issues that I saw growing up, and I spoke about them 15 years ago when I started my activism, and the country wasn't ready to listen, and the country hadn't seen the same problems. Now, because of demographic replacement, because of mass immigration, because of the hotels being filled in every town and city across the UK, the general public now see the warnings that I was giving, see that I wasn't fear-mongering. Obviously, I started talking about grooming gangs, which is the name given to them. We're talking more like a rape jihad. But grooming gangs, I started talking about them in 2004. They didn't come into fruition or into the public's knowledge until 2014. So in that period there, I was deemed as a hate mongerer, as a liar, as a fear mongerer. Whereas the reality was I was just telling the truth about what was happening to British girls. Now the whole world, especially recently, thanks to Elon Musk, are fully aware of the level of probably not the true level, but of the scale of the problem and the rapes that a generation of British daughters have faced. Not just the problems that they've faced, but the fact that the British authorities, the police, every single institution that was there to protect those children failed them because they were too scared of being deemed as racist. That is the scale of the problem in political correctness. That's who I am. I started my activism. I then became a journalist in 2015 when I realised I need to show the public what I know, what I've seen. I need to let them realise and make documentaries. So I've made 10 feature-length documentaries. I'm now a journalist and an activist, and I'm currently planning the largest resistance rally this country's ever seen.
Is it offensive to you that they say that you are a racist?
It's boring. It's totally so overused. Do you know the mad thing is? I'm a racist to the left, to the actual genuine far right, the Nazis. I'm a race traitor and a Zionist. I get it from every side. So people understand, again, I'll give my explanation. Luton Town is one of the most diverse towns in Europe. Okay, if you lined up my 30 best friends, in fact, go on my social media. I put a picture up from a school friend's, my best friend's wedding yesterday. If you line up our friends, St. Lucian, Jamaican, Bulgarian, Italian, my mum's Irish. Luton is a town full of immigration. Okay, now, so I think I'm well placed to explain what works and what doesn't work.
Yeah.
And pretty much all that Christian immigration, even Sikh immigration, Hindu immigration, it has integrated and assimilated in the town that I grew up in. The one problem of non-assimilation, non-integration has come from the Islamic community. That's not saying every Muslim's bad, every Muslim's a problem. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that as the Islamic demographic changes at such a speed, the culture of the town changes. We see less freedom. We see more extremism, more violence. We see hostility towards the hosts. And that's not hostility, actually, it's not hostility just towards white English. It's hostility towards all non-Muslims. We see that. We see hatred. So I speak about that. And when people want to call you a racist, if I was opposing Christianity, no one would call me a racist. Why is this protection given to one ideology? Why? Why is it given? And when we have such a problem, the scale of the problem, just so you understand, Muslims make up 4 to 5% of the UK population. Okay, they are responsible for 84% of convictions in group-based rape of young children. 84%. How are 4 to 5% responsible for 84%? 30% of the men convicted for raping children in gangs are named Mohammed. 30%. That's a fact. That's not my problem. That's a fact. So when you try and have these discussions that all come from Islamic belief, when we look, 4 times more British Muslims went to fight for ISIS than have ever joined the British military. We have 40,000 Muslims on a terror watch list. We have 3,000 of those Muslims monitored 7 days, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week at a cost of £9 billion to the economy every year. Yeah? This is a problem because this number increases every single year. So when you try and talk about these real issues, they want to try and silence the debate and silence the discussion by beating you down with the term racist. Now that worked. It's actually crazy how much that worked because it paralyzed, fear of that being branded racist, paralyzed our police force, and it actually paralyzed our population from raising concerns and speaking openly about these problems. But that fear is gone. I don't know if you've been watching. I've just seen the scene come out of Australia today. It looks like it's spreading across the entire West. The fear to speak up on these issues is gone. The bubble has been burst. You're about to see on September 13th, we are going to hold the biggest celebration of British identity, something they've tried to stop, but also resistance against mass immigration and population replacement, and a rally for free speech. I think you're going to see 1 million Brits taken to our capital city. It's going to be scenes that have never been seen before. There's something brewing in Britain. I keep saying it. It looks like revolution is brewing because the betrayed and forgotten and neglected working class, and not just working class, now it's spread to middle England, they've had enough and they're not going to remain silent anymore. The silent majority will be silent no more.
I've dedicated a lot of my life since October 7 to fighting Islamic extremism. I think it's the greatest evil that we face in the world. I lived in Indonesia for 7 years, which is the world's largest Islamic population, and I found the vast majority of people there to be incredibly decent, good people. There are a lot of Muslims in the world. Do you believe extremism is the issue with the Muslim religion, or do you think the entire religion is the problem?
I believe the teachings of Islam are the problem. Muhammad's teachings are the problem. So, for example, 9% of Mein Kampf, Hitler's book, is Jew hate. No, 7% of Mein Kampf is Jew hatred. 7%. The Quran is 11% Jew hatred. Okay? Muhammad hated the Jews. Muhammad beheaded 600 Jews in one day, the Qayuba tribe. He took his wife Sophia after torturing her husband Kanana. It goes back to the times of Muhammad. Take Israel out of the equation, Islam's teachings still hate the Jews. So what I'd say is many Muslims, the vast majority, don't follow the word of Muhammad to the exact word. That's what we have. Yeah, we have many Muslims who treat Islam like a buffet. They take the bits they like and ignore the bits they don't like. The problem is the bits they don't like, they're the problematic ones for us. So we have to talk about them. And when you talk about them, the Islamic ideology tells all the followers they have to defend it. blindly defend it. If you upset or defame Muhammad, we must kill you. All these different teachings. So I see Islam and its core teachings as the problem. Not every Muslim, because they don't follow Islam, but Islam's teachings are the problem. Now, in the UK, you have to understand that Hizb ut-Tahrir were only prescribed after October 7th. But Hizb ut-Tahrir in Saudi, in Dubai, in the UAE, these terrorist groups have been banned for decades.
They know it firsthand. Why don't we listen to them? They know it better than anyone.
The Muslim Brotherhood. The Muslim Brotherhood are allowed to grow in this country. Hizb ut-Tahrir, every Islamic society in our universities across the UK was controlled and run pretty much by Hizb ut-Tahrir. They've just been banned. But what Hizb ut-Tahrir done I'd say it's about 15 years ago, they held a conference, and I'm pretty sure they had 10,000 people at their conference. The Labour Party couldn't get 10,000 people at their conference. The Conservatives couldn't. But what Hizb ut-Tahrir done after that was they filtered down into about 10 or 20 different smaller organisations, as though to go under the radar. So still doing exactly the same, as do the Muslim Brotherhood, as do many of these radical jihadist world caliphate organisations. But they're free to do it in the West because of our liberal, weak, pathetic, cowardice leadership, who allow them to grow, and at times because of our foreign policy. So our foreign policy, when the Soviets were at war in Afghanistan, or when Russia was at war in Afghanistan, we allowed the Mujahideen to have bases in the UK. We basically gave home to lots of their leaders because it benefited us to have a jihadist combative force in Afghanistan. But never did they think about the future, that they would turn it on us, which is what's happened. So I think our leaders, our foreign policy, all of them have played a part in the problem, and totally the inability and the cowardice. Like I listen to Viktor Orban and I listen to his speeches, and I listen to politicians who don't have a Muslim population, and they're very strong and they tell the truth. The problem is in the UK, we've got 4 million Muslims. So what do our politicians do? This is where they're cowards. What do they do when they don't speak openly, they don't speak honestly? They cower and they bend. In fact, they cower and they bend to every ideology that wishes to see the destruction of Great Britain and everything we hold dear. Whether that be communism, whether it was Marxism, Black Lives Matter, they bend on their knees for all of them. We have absolute cowards in Parliament. But yeah, I don't see. What I try to do, and your viewers to listen, is separate Muslims from Islam. Okay, people, how can you separate Muslims from Islam? The same way you can be an atheist and you can oppose Christianity without hating every Christian. It doesn't mean if I oppose Islam and the radical teachings of it, or Muhammad's teachings, or the 100 verses in the Quran that call for the death of non-Muslims or the subjugation of non-Muslims. If I oppose that, doesn't mean I hate your everyday Muslim. Because your everyday Muslim probably doesn't even realise this. Many of them, they're just cultural Muslims born into an ideology, born into it as part of their culture. So yeah, I try and separate the two and tell people that if you hate Muslims, it's bad. If you blame every Muslim, it's bad. But it is your God-given right to look at this book, look at the teachings of Muhammad, and pick their fault, because we have to pick their fault as the communities are ever increasing, as the money's coming in from Qatar, the influence from these countries in our own nations. We have to understand what Islam is and stop kidding ourselves that all cultures are equal. Stop pretending to ourselves that Islam is some similar to Christianity. Jesus said, turn the other cheek. Muhammad said, cut their heads off. That's just basic reality of it.
My experience is talking to everyday Muslims, the vast majority of them despise the extremism that you refer to, the teachings that you refer to. So I agree with you there. You separate it, and it doesn't make you racist. It doesn't make you, it's such a weaponization of that word, and it's been used against me. Islamophobia has been used against me because I call out extremist Islam. And I say, I speak the language fluently of the world's largest Islamic population. I was raised in part by devout Muslim women who I love, but I hate passionately Islamic extremism and those who take the literal word of it and kill people. I mean, if that makes me racist, then come on, it's insanity. 1 million people. You don't just say that, Elon Musk does. Why does he like you so much?
I don't know if it's whether he likes me so much. I think that Elon understands what's happening. He says his grandparents were from Britain. He has looked and read and researched what's happened to British children. And he probably, like the rest of America and the rest of the world, cannot believe it's been allowed to happen. And I guess if they look at who was raising the concern about it, then it's me. So, or me and groups and people like me, and we were defamed, we were attacked, we were silenced, we were imprisoned. So I don't know if it's whether Elon personally likes me. I think that he's personally outraged and cannot believe what's been allowed to happen in such a wonderful country as Britain. And we were known around the world as Great Britain. But what's great about a country that does not protect its own children? What's great about a country that actually willingly sacrifices its children at the hand of the multiculturalist order? What's great about that? There's nothing great about it. And when we talk, I saw Keir Starmer talking in the Oval Office, and Donald Trump was talking about free speech, and Keir Starmer said, we have a proud history of free speech.
Yeah, it's in the past, Keir.
It's in the past. We live in a post-free speech era. If you exercise your free speech in Britain, you will face prison, you will face attack, you will face cancel culture. But whilst we talk about all these negatives, something monumentous, something historic is currently happening in Great Britain. The mums are out, okay? And I think even when you look at the fall of the Soviet, it's when the mums and the daughters and the women rose up, yeah? When the mothers are out. Now, when I sit and watch, and I've just watched the scenes coming out of Australia from your rallies today, I get so encouraged, because when you understand, I've been in this 15 years, non-stop activism every day for 15 years. And it's been a lonely road and a difficult road. And sometimes it's felt like you're hitting your head against a brick wall. But then to sit back over the last month or few months, even since I come out of jail, and watch what's happening, I've never been so encouraged, because I see well-spoken, intelligent British women now who would have hid last year from giving their view. Let me explain that. I went to, do you know, have you watched what's happening in the Republic of Ireland? Well, about 2.5 years ago, I was out in Spain, and I watched the rise up in the Republic of Ireland with street protests. So I flew straight there, and I made a documentary called Rise of the Celts, the Plantation to Rise of the Celts. Now, you can watch any of my documentaries at trfilms.co.uk, yeah? But I went to Ireland, and I wanted to tell the story of Ireland, because my mum's Irish. My family bloodline comes from Ireland, and I know, and I don't mess with Irish women, I know that, yeah. So when I saw Irish women on the streets, I thought, this is being led by the mums. So I flew out there, and what I did is I went into some of the cities affected by the mass immigration and the hotels, and I went to Killarney, a beautiful city. It's where Americans and Canadians and Australians, if you were visiting Ireland, that's where you go. It's got all the hotels. It's beautiful, picturesque. And I've gone there, but I knew when I went there, to get people to talk, you're going to have to wear a hit. So my button was a camera. And on the documentary, I go up to women in the street and I say, hi, I'm here. What's it like living here now? What's changed in the last 12, 24 months? And all of them on camera, you can watch the documentary. They all say, we can't walk the streets. We can't walk the streets. I know a girl that was raped over there. Someone was sexually assaulted there. One woman says, for me, I work there and I live there. My husband has to walk down and get me from work to walk me home. We cannot walk the streets. And all of the women would say this, all of them. Yeah. Then I would say, right, I'm a journalist. I'm from the UK. Let me just get my cameraman. And then they say, oh, no, I can't be on camera. No. Now that mood, that feeling, where the public feel something but aren't saying it, they're too scared to say it, that is what's been going on for decades. Yeah, that has burst. I'm telling you, it's broken, and I'm watching it break, and I'm watching a tidal wave of patriotism sweep across Great Britain, and people who would never have aligned themselves with me and never have attended our rallies are not just coming, but they're bringing their entire families. Yeah. So something historic is happening, something that the government 12 months ago, 18 months ago after Southport riots, what they did, you all saw the riots after Southport, yeah, in the UK. What the government did, what Keir Starmer's government did, is they weaponised the judiciary and weaponised the media. And they put, have you heard of Lucy Connolly's story?
Yeah.
She was a mother. They sentenced her to 31 months for a tweet. 31 months for a tweet that she deleted after 2 hours, that she apologized for. Yeah. So they sentenced, but it's not just her. We know her story. They sentenced so many. Wayne wrote, there's so many other men were sentenced to prison for saying something on Facebook or in the street shouting something. Now, Peter Lynch was sent to jail. He was a granddad. He was sent to prison for holding a placard against government tyranny and saying, I pray for my family. They locked him up and gave him 2.5 years. Now, why did they do this so publicly? When I say publicly, they live streamed the arrest. The protest happened within 48 hours. Media were live streaming the doors getting kicked in, the people getting dragged out. They were before a judge and they were in prison within 48 hours. Yeah, we had previous migrant riots the year before. They're still not in jail, probably half of them. Yeah, but all of the British people were thrown straight into prison, and they were thrown into prison without bail. So they weren't allowed to give an interview. They weren't given time. They weren't allowed to have time for legal stuff. They were sent straight into prison. Now, why did they do that? They done that to put fear into the British public. So when they sent Lucy Connolly, a mother, into jail for 31 months, they thought it would put fear into all the other mothers speaking out. Instead, they have lit a fire in the belly of every British mum. When they murdered Peter Lynch, because Peter Lynch got 2.5 years and he killed himself in jail because he was being targeted by the Muslim gangs. He'd never been in trouble with the police before. He was a granddad. But they done that to put fear. When they took me and gave me 18-month prison sentence for playing a film, and they locked me in solitary confinement, breaking every law, the Mandela law at the European Union, we have a Mandela rule where you're only allowed 14 days of solitary because of the negative effect it has on you. They broke everything. They didn't care. Yeah, but they do all of this to send a message to the public, sit down and shut up whilst we destroy your culture, change your nation. Yeah, that was meant to work. I sit confidently now knowing that every step they've made has had the total adverse effect. Yeah. Everything they've done. You putting me in jail, all I was waiting for, if you watch my video the minute I come out of jail, September 13th, we're coming. Yeah. You're meant to have broken us. You haven't broke us. You've united us. You've united this whole country. Keir Starmer getting into power, the Labour government taking power in the UK is the best thing that could have ever happened. Yeah, because we were slowly walking into oblivion. Yeah, then now within 24 months, 18 months of this failure, tyrannical leadership, everyone in Britain can see what they're doing. Everyone can see free speech under attack. Everyone can see their cultures under attack. Their very existence as British people is at threat. The safety of our daughters has been taken. And I've always said, whilst I'm going on this rant, I've always said, when people realise, yeah, the British people, because I know what's happened because I'm from the town of Luton, and Luton is a blueprint for every other town and city, the way the country's changing. When the people realise what they've done, when they realise your future's at stake, your children are no longer safe, the future of your very existence, your ability to succeed, they've taken all of it. When they realise that, they're going to look at who lied. They're going to look at who told the truth, and they're going to know. And they're looking right now at the mainstream media. Everyone is. And they know they've got no trust. They've got no ability. Their monopoly that they had for so many years to write a headline and story about me and people buy it. Now it's gone. Yeah. So I can sit there now. We can do this interview. I can sit and do a message or a video on this, and we far exceed their power. Yeah. But that's only thanks to Elon Musk, because up until 24 months ago, I was invisible. I spent 5 years of being totally invisible, totally unpersoned. If you would have mentioned my name on Facebook, they'd have deleted your account. Yeah? That's what they did for their control. They've lost control, not because the public are awakening, because brave people like Elon Musk stepped in for free speech and gave a platform for free speech. And then when Donald Trump has got in election, I've walked out of Wood Hill prison 3 months ago, say. And when I walked out, my YouTube and every interview I used to do used to get no comments, couldn't be shared, was made invisible. When I walked out of jail, everything's turned back on. That is the ripple coming out of the American establishment that have taken power. Yeah. So I know sometimes people could listen to me. You could get depressed listening to me about the state of our nation. But I don't think it's time to get depressed. It's time to really rally the troops, because the country is ready. It's not just the country. We're seeing your scenes out of Australia today. The entire West, this attack on family, on identity, on culture hasn't just happened in Britain. It's not just happening in Australia. All of our countries are being flooded. All of our countries are under attack. Every one of the Western nations, the most successful nations in this world, are being obliterated and attacked. And I think now the people are finally waking up. So I'm excited about September 13th. I'm excited about the fact that everyone's awake. And we're going to send a message to the world on September 13th from Great Britain. And hopefully it gives inspiration to many others.
One of the issues we have after today, and there were huge numbers everywhere, and you look at the vision, and I've looked at so much of it today, the vast majority, again, incredibly proud, decent Australians who just want to preserve what is good and decent about this country. But then you have the neo-Nazis who come in and there's like 5 or 6, or they're a tiny, tiny minority, but the media, the mainstream media, is focused almost entirely on just showing them as though they are representative of this group of Australians. How do you counter that?
Well, I've been through this. Remember, I set up an organisation called the English Defence League in 2009. So I learned very quickly, we were a nationalist organisation. We attracted the brave, the dangerous, and at the same time, yeah? So I learned and had clashes with these neo-Nazis. And it took years. Purity comes with time for an organisation like the English Defence League. It took us 2-3 years. They were gone. They knew where they stood. I'm lucky that those neo-Nazis despise me. They know our movement. We know who they are in Britain, yeah? They cannot turn up on the streets with us. They're not welcome on the streets with us. They know that. We run our own security. And these groups, what I'd say to those neo-Nazis, yeah, and their groups, the groups that want to totally white everything and they hate everything. They hate the Jews. They hate this. Hold your own fucking demonstrations, yeah? Because 10 of you will turn up or 30 of you will turn up.
Yes.
And when you turn up, you'll cover your faces because you're cowards, yeah?
Yes.
At the same time. So what they do is they come in, and half the time, I don't trust that these people and these groups are not working with the state, because what they've done is tried to delegitimise what the majority of Australians have stood for.
My first thought was the government's going to love that they're there, because now they can say neo-Nazis, they don't that was my first thought. They will love this.
They don't have to, they don't then
have to address the actual issue. Yes.
So it works. Now, what you have to ask the question is who's behind many of these neo-Nazi groups? Is it the state? Is it the government? Were they covering their faces? I guess the majority of them usually do. I look at each time but we have a rule on our event. We have a rule. No face coverings. So
what would you say to the Australian organisers who want to do this again but not have this element arrive? You say security, no covering of faces.
You need to make it clear to these groups they're not welcome. You need to make it clear, because they will ruin what you've done today.
Yeah.
You need to make it
because
clear.
Most of the Australians there were mums, they were grandmas, they were grandpas, they were kids, they were people. They're not racist, they're not bigots, they're not white supremacists. They're Australians who want to remember and preserve what is decent and good about this country, alongside the immigrants from different countries who buy into our values.
We've had some success stories of immigration in Britain. Anyone who's come to Britain who loves Britain, will be at our event on September 30th.
Absolutely.
I have worked now for 15 years or more, and these far right elements, because everyone gets called far right now. I'm talking about the neo-Nazis. I saw some of them talking today at the event. I saw them snatch the microphone. I don't know if they snatched the microphone or were given the microphone. Yeah. I have been through this for 15 years with these groups. Yeah. And the problem is they circulate around any decent movements, and they try and pick up supporters of them or
hijack it
away, and they try and turn the supporters. They can't do anything themselves. I keep saying, whenever they have a go, so they're having a pop at me now. I see these white supremacists having a pop at me now, saying, because I've made a statement, we've got 50 Maoris coming from New Zealand, and they're doing the haka at our event in London. Yeah?
Oh, I love the haka.
Well, I love that. I love any group that
so powerful.
I love any group that stands for free speech. I love any group. They're a Christian group. I love the fact that when the lockdown was on in New Zealand, and when Antifa were attacking citizens for trying to stand up, this Maori group stood in defence of them. So as I looked at them, I thought, I respect this. Yeah. So they're coming to do the haka. We're coming to bring worldwide attention to what's happened in Britain. But these groups are now hammering me for what has this got to do with British nationalism? And what I tell them is, if you want your own event, go and do it. Because I know, and you know, and we all know, there'll be 25 here. Yeah, 25
on a good day. On a good day.
What that 25 do is they turn up in amongst thousands, as they've done today in Australia, and they ruin it for everybody. So the organisers need to realise that your mainstream supporters that have turned up today, I've seen many of them walking off when Matey got up to give a speech. You're ruining it for them. So, and unfortunately, because these pride groups are very active, they're very active. They've got a lot of activists online. So it's an illusion that they've got mass numbers.
That's exactly. It's not true. It's fake.
No, it's not true. So the mainstream public have had enough of mass immigration, but that doesn't mean they agree with these groups. Unless the mainstream discuss some of the topics, they leave it open for these groups. But I've seen it. I've battled it for years. But you have to have a strong stance. The problem with these groups in the UK, why they can't do what they've done today to you, is we've battled them, yeah, and they know that, and we've gone through this already.
Yeah.
So, but the organisers need to understand that the decent people won't come next time.
That's what I fear. That the decent, because I didn't go anywhere near it because I'd seen so much of who was going to be there, and that's what you risk.
You risk it. Again, I have sympathy with the organisers of these events. I know how difficult these things are. I know that when we turned up in our first events as the English Defence League, we had all of these problems.
Yeah.
We had all of these problems. The lucky thing we've got in the UK is that the British football scene, which is a football culture, despises these mugs. So all of the groups of men that come together through football clubs in the UK are not white pride, white supremacist. They despise them. So the vast majority of decent lads that will be at our events would not tolerate any of them pulling out flags. They couldn't do it. They'd be too scared to do it. They couldn't do it. They'd be too scared to do it. So again, I'll just say to Australians, still be proud of your country, your culture, your identity. What you saw today was encouraging. Don't let those blips ruin it for you. Don't. It just means you need to get more organised. You need to get more disciplined, and you need to send a message to them and make sure that they know they can't turn up, or just let them organise their own events.
Yeah,
well, they done one recently, didn't they? 200 of them walking through the middle of the night. They turned up at night somewhere in Australia or something.
Yeah, because they're cowards, of course. Middle of the night.
Okay, do your own thing. 200 of you.
Yeah.
Let's stop ruling and hijacking.
That's the
other
word.
people's events.
Do you know something that's really interesting? I feel like, and this is, my dad was in the army. He was a major general. He was an Australian senator. He was willing to give his life for this country. He fought in wars to protect the Australian way of life. And I look at the way that our flag can be burned, the way that our flag has been demonized. The Australian anthem, I had not heard that played in years because people are too afraid to play our national anthem at events until I started speaking at Jewish events, which I've done a fair bit of recently, given what's happening in Australia with anti-Semitism and what's happening in the Middle East. I've not heard the Australian anthem played in years until at every Jewish event I've been to, the first thing they do is play the Australian national anthem. And I get so emotional, and it reminds me, why have we lost so much of who we are in our countries? It's insanity. It's who we are. It's the fabric of our nation. It's what people before us have fought and died for. And we're too scared to sing a national anthem because it might offend, or it might, I feel like we've hit a point now where people are like, we're sick of this shit. We don't want to do this anymore. We don't stand for this anymore. Our leaders are weak as piss. Your Starmers, your Macrons, your Carneys in Canada, your Albaneses in Australia. People are sick of it. They're good, decent, kind people who are willing to share their country with others, but not others who want to kill them or ruin things or rape their daughters. It's not racist to want to protect your children. Did you think that we would be in a position now where you are having to defend a stance that is based primarily and initially on the protection of children? Like, what?
We've faced in Britain an attack on our culture, and exactly everything you're saying just mirrors Britain, where we're afraid people don't feel they can fly their flag. But I don't know if you've been following the Raise the Flag campaign.
Yeah, I've seen it all over, yeah.
There's not one single place you can drive right now in Britain. There's nowhere without seeing our flags. Now that months ago, not a flag anywhere, one end of the country to the other. There is not. I mean, people
would call you racist if you flew the Australian flag, or if you're not allowed to say Happy Australia Day. You're not allowed to have a flag on your shirt. It became something you would be nervous about doing.
Well, let's hope Raise the Flags and Raise the Colours spreads across the entire world, because right now there's not one part of Britain you can go down without seeing the country's flag. And that is a beautiful sight to see. And that also, as I sit back and watch it, I just think, wow, like something big's happening. And do you know why it's happening? Because we can see our culture and our identity is a threat. We can see it. Well, everyone now across the country can see it. We can see that we are treated as second-class citizens. We can see, how is it a government care more about people from Afghanistan or Pakistan or Eritrea than they do about us? How is it that in this migrant hotel in Epping, if you've been following the story...
That decision, I cannot. He acknowledged the danger, but then went on to say, but to preserve the status of, like, sorry, that, what?
But little girls can't walk to school. Girls can't walk to school. So a 14-year-old girl was sexually assaulted walking to school. Yeah, one of them. Last week, when someone was went videoing around the back of the hotel, they caught the Muslim lad at the hotel watching beheading videos. Yeah, that the government have no idea who they're putting in these hotels. They don't know their crimes, their criminal history, their political beliefs, their any of their beliefs. They don't know if they're Hamas. They don't know if they're ISIS. They don't know, but they're throwing them next to schools across the UK. Out of those hotels, 25 children have been sexually assaulted out of the hotels from the men in the hotels. 9 women, there's been prosecutions of 9 rapes from men in the hotels. They've raped 9 women. One man at a hotel left and done a terrorist attack. So these are the men that they're putting into our communities. Now, their solution for this right now, because Keir Starmer's government said they're going to get them out of the hotels. Now, what they're doing is they're taking the house next door to you and they're making it into HMO. BlackRock have just invested £1 billion in the British housing market. Now, what that means is they're buying houses that might be a 4-bedroom house and they're going to separate them to house 6 migrants. And instead of them being in a hotel, they're going to be dotted in every town and city in all of our communities next door to us. These are men that you know nothing about, that don't speak our language, don't share our culture. They're aggressive, they're hostile, they're violent, they're raping, they're murdering from one end of our country to the other. And your policy is to throw them in. And when the local community stand up and as women, which the majority was, and say, we're scared. And first and foremost, the British government's job is to protect the British public, not protect these Afghanis. And then when they keep saying asylum seekers, no, they're not asylum seekers, because they've come through 16 safe countries, which means they're economic migrants. There's not one single one of them that have come on a boat from bloody France, a safe country, that is a legitimate asylum seeker. Not one. Which means every single one of them should be deported out of this country. And that would put the safety of British children and women first. But the problem is, you see the term mass deportations, that was unthinkable to be having that discussion just 12 months. The shift in the Overton window about what the public are discussing, about what's acceptable, it's shifting so quick, so fast on a daily basis. And I think that when we hold our successful event on September 13th, it's going to give more courage for more conversation. What is the solution to this? It's for people to speak up, stand up and speak out. And if everyone done that from the start and wasn't scared, I understand why they're scared. Remember, I used the name Tommy Robinson. Originally, I wore a mask and used a fake name, because I had 7 houses and 2 successful companies and I didn't want to lose them. And I lost it all. So I fully get why the average person who's financed up to here, struggling with their bills, trying to live a life, trying to have a job, worried about losing it all, I get why they were silenced. I get it. But right now, the dam's bursting, okay? And the more it bursts, the people who whispered about this, they're going to be screaming about it. Yeah, they're going to be screaming about it. And when that moment comes, which is coming now, I'm telling you, I'm watching it all. I've been in this 15 years. I've travelled the country. When I walk down the street now, I know there is a change. It's coming and they can't stop it. There's nothing they can do to stop currently. I'm talking about Britain here. Hopefully it's the same for Australia. Hopefully this spreads. What's happening now in Britain, they can't stop. The public are awake. They're not buying it. They're not remaining silent. So, I'm excited. If there's any Australians watching, get yourself over. I know it's the other side of the world. We have got many Australians coming to our event. We've got Avi Yemeni speaking out. I don't know if you know Avi. Avi, do you know Avi?
Yes, I do. Yes. Know of him. I don't know him.
Okay, Avi's great.
Tell me, you went to prison because you believe so strongly in this. What are you willing to sacrifice for this?
I'll put this into perspective again. I'll put it into perspective because what I've sacrificed or given is nothing. Yeah? You have to look at our previous generation and we have to look at what they were willing to sacrifice. Yeah. And 15-year-old children were lying about their age to run into the battlefield with a life expectancy that they knew they're going to get killed. Why were they doing that? Why did our grandparents, all of them, why were they fighting? They were fighting to make sure they handed down a safe and prosperous Britain to us, the next generation. When people talk about free speech, it's never been free. Everyone bled, died, sacrificed everything so we could have it. Are we really going to give it away? Are we going to allow the change of this country to a barbaric ideology being imported into it? Are we going to sit back and remain silent because someone might call you a racist? Because you might lose your bloody job? It's got to the point now where we have to look at who we are and what we're willing to sacrifice and how far we're willing to go. So, yeah, I went to prison, but you hear my story. You get to hear my story. Do you know how many people there are, or whistleblowers, that have sacrificed? You know, when I led the English Defence League, do you know, I had school teachers crying to me because they were losing their jobs. So many people have sacrificed to get to the country to the point it's at now. The things that have happened had to happen. Lucy Connolly had to go to jail to wake up Britain's mums. Unfortunately, Peter Lynch died, but that was an awakening moment for many in the country. I had to go to prison so visibly for free speech, for playing a film, and I was scared, terrified. Yeah, I didn't want to do that. I had to sit my kids down, but I also knew that if we don't stand up, and that's why when I come out of jail, I was a mess, if I'm honest. And I was sitting in my cell. I'd done 7 months on solitary, and I just knew that when I come out, we have to go 13th of September, give a date. We have to start where we left off, which is in rebellion. The Great British Revolt is happening. So when people think about what they're sacrificing, it's nothing. Yeah, no one's asking you to get shot every day. No, members of our armed forces who sign up for Australia, sign up for Britain, they've been getting their legs blown off in Afghanistan and Iraq. We're not asking you, when you put it into perspective, what we're telling people to do. No one's asking you to go into battle. We're asking you to open your mouth, tell the truth and defend your country and speak up. We're asking you to speak up for the next generation of children. It's not really that much of a sacrifice. None of it is. So the time is now. The momentum's with us. The future does belong, whether the establishment realise it or not. I think they should start realising it. The future belongs to nationalists, to patriots, to borders.
Will there be people of different nationalities, races, religions at your rally on September 13?
It always has, which again is the worrying point for the government, because I sit there and smile because I think everything you've done, you've got the world's media, you've got all the establishment, and no one's listened to you. Because no matter what, they brand us as racist. No one buys it. No one buys it. The diversity of our crowd, but the diversity of Britain, the diversity of the British Armed Forces is represented. So anyone who loves Britain is welcome at our events. Everyone who wants to protect British culture, to save this country and to protect the next generation of daughters in it will be at our event.
Any political aspirations for you? What's next? How far do you want to take this activism, this leadership?
I'm happy that I have a position that changes people's opinions or use my journalism to wake people up. Party politics, I'd rather step back from. But I also want a political party and movement we're a cultural movement. Now, 18 months ago, 2 years ago, I sat down in a room with 20 of the lead, whether you want to call them influencers or activists, whatever you want to call them. 1 million followers, 500,000 followers, YouTubers, TikTokers. We had a private meeting. We sat down for days and we said, we don't agree on everything, yeah, but we know our country's going down the pan. British culture is at threat, yeah. If we can agree on 5 main points as influencers, if we can come together and we can agree to defend British culture, defend British identity, protect free speech, stop sexualisation of children. These are the points. You don't have to agree with me on my view on Israel. You don't have to agree with me on my view on Islam. You don't have to agree on everything, yeah? But if we can come together and work together on this, that was our mission when we sat down with 20 of the country's biggest influencers. And the point was, if you change the culture, you change the politics. So we could try and get into party politics, and it might take us 5 years, 10 years. Or we could galvanise this country, put the fear of God into the establishment, and we become such a weight, such a movement of people that we will change the politics anyway. Now, alongside that, that's what I wanted to do, a cultural movement. Now, alongside that, great if there's a political party, which there now has become, which is Advance UK, led by a gentleman called Ben Habib. I'd love Rupert Lowe, who's a lead politician who was kicked out of Reform. Reform were the party that everyone thought was going to stand up for Britain, but then Reform started censoring Rupert Lowe, one of their politicians. He wasn't allowed to say mass deportations. They wanted him to stop talking about Pakistani rape gangs. They become the same establishment. They've just kicked another councillor out who attended a rally for saying Islam's dangerous. So Reform have become the same establishment, and that's I understand why they become the same establishment, because the people funding the Conservative Party are the same people now funding Reform. It's exactly the same. We needed a revolution in British politics. I wanted to bring the establishment down, not become part of it. unfortunately, Reform have wanted to become part of it. So Ben Habib's party, Advance, has made it very clear that they're welcome to our movement. So I'm happy that they go on and do party politics, as long as they don't betray the working class. And as long, because there is not one party. If you look at Nigel Farage, if you look at any of these politicians, they're not working class. The Labour Party are meant to represent the working class, yeah, us. Now, I don't know if you're aware of the class system in the UK, but the reason we're looked down on those so much is because of the way I talk and the education and the upbringing I've had. I'm from a rough working class town. Yeah? They hate us. They despise us. 90% of Labour's MPs are privately educated. What do these people know about our lives? They have no clue what it's like growing up where we've grown up. They don't live like us. Their culture's not like ours. They don't understand us. So I put my faith after meeting after meeting after meeting with Advance, that Advance UK can actually be that populist revolution that Britain needs. So that's who I'm backing personally. I don't have a lead role in Advance UK. I don't want a lead role in Advance UK, if I'm honest. I'm not saying that. I believe that in Parliament we have 650 politicians. There's nothing they'd want, that they'd hate more than me being in there amongst them. But I believe that my power is in galvanising, uniting and awakening people with my journalism, activism and our cultural movement. So that's the position I'm taking at the minute.
Final question, Tommy. What percentage chance do you give your cultural movement of succeeding?
We're going to succeed. That's it. It's 100% chance, because there's no other choice. Because if we don't succeed, what happens? Britain's gone. It's our country. Our forefathers bled for it. They sacrificed everything for it. That's not racist. Why is it only our countries are changing, and all of the immigration that's flooding us is Islamic immigration? You're trying to mix oil and water. I've seen it my whole life growing up in Luton Town. It does not work. It's not going to work.
Tommy Robinson, thank you so much for your time and for sharing everything here with us. Thank you.
Thank you. Good luck, everyone. Cheers.